All right, welcome back. Now, one of the most vocal criticisms about the Xbox One announcement, everyone's saying, where are the games? Where are the games? And throughout the entire announcement, they kept saying, I mean, obviously, you're going to see the games at E3, you're going to see the games at E3, just wait for it. This is kind of meant to highlight the console itself, I think. And the games that they did talk about were, I mean, granted, they're going to be released, most of them are going to be released on Xbox first, but they're also going to be released on the PS4 as well. So this was probably a smart move to give like the console the spotlight as opposed to the games. Do you think that this was probably the right way to go for this announcement?
I mean, it's not a bad idea, especially when there are so many services that Microsoft wants to talk about with the Xbox One. But really, like, the games they show, they're going to be available across the platforms. There was no mention about anything exclusive. There was no indie attention. And I think the PlayStation 4 announcement really set the bar for that. People were expecting, I want to see something. I want to see what all this hardware is actually capable of. And all you got was really, look at this TV. So it's
football.
There are so many fantasy apps.
How many ways can you watch football? We've got 5.
But yeah, I mean, like I don't think it was a bad idea, especially where E3 is so close. But it's disappointing for gamers for sure.
Oh, no, I agree. You know, I can almost forgive them because it is so close to E3. Yeah. If this was a Sony, or if this was, you know, if it was taking place in the same time frame as the Sony's one, I might be a little bit more upset. But I think before we bite them too hard on it, we have to wait for E3. We have to see what games are actually going to show. They at least mentioned, for instance, that there are 15 new titles, 8 of which that are new IPs. Now that doesn't, we don't know if that means that it's going to be like Star Wars, like The Force Unleashed, like Jedi Mind Trick Kinect Edition or something. Like we don't know if it's going to be a bunch of shareware Kinect stuff.
Which still classify as new IP.
Exactly, which still
definitely
counts,
new IP.
You know, it still counts as something, but we don't, you know, so I'm not expecting a whole bunch of like new Halo stuff or whatever, but certainly, certainly maybe not what some people were looking for.
A lot of the things, obviously, they talked about weren't gaming related. I mean, you're looking at, like, you can use the Kinect, and you can speak to the Xbox and give commands, integration of the fantasy sports apps, which we just talked about. Halo TV show. Yay!
Steven Spielberg, that guy needs more money. That's really the big problem. And
He has not found the way to do it, if this is what his hope is.
I'm glad he's gone to making poignant films about, you know, the war to making Halo films.
Did you watch the Machinima series, what was it, Forward Unto Dawn? Did you guys watch that?
Yeah, it was awful.
Okay. For what it was, it at least all it did, it was kind of bad. I mean, the acting and stuff was kind of bad, but yeah, everybody was kind of like whatever, kind of deadpan the whole time. But it at least proved that Halo could be done in that format and done relatively well. So I'm a little bit interested.
I don't know. I really can't get excited about it. I mean,
this might be phenomenal. We have no idea.
I mean, I'm glad Michael Bay wasn't doing it. How about that? And Steven Spielberg.
How much lens flare can we get into Halo?
Because Halo could have a lot of explosions. So I'm just saying, I'm surprised they didn't get Michael Bay.
Plasma grenade goes off.
You're probably going to regret it.
I'm surprised Bay didn't off Spielberg in order to get the deal on that.
Why not?
Obviously, Microsoft did want to talk about the Kinect. It might not be part of most gamers' Xbox setup. It will be included with the Xbox One.
If it isn't yet, it will be soon.
Yeah, you don't have a choice now.
They were pretty keen to point out kind of all the improvements that they've made to the technology, but is this kind of what gamers are looking for, is improvements to Kinect?
It depends on what type of gamer you're talking about, right? I mean, there are going to be hardcore gamers who do like the Kinect. There's going to be hardcore gamers that despise it. But I think in general, their idea is definitely still going to be the casual market. There's no other reason to have it but for the casual market. And I think because of that, it's when they mentioned having it to always have to be connected to the system, that annoyed the more hardcore group because they're thinking, well, I'm not going to use it, so why do I have to keep this thing hooked up to my system all the time? And I'm sure we're going to talk about how creepy that thing is probably going to get, you know, some sort of like HAL act-alike.
An always-on microphone in your living room, feeding to Microsoft.
Exactly,
what could possibly go wrong?
Family dinner conversations that you never wanted to leave the home are now going to be subject to Microsoft selling to publishers.
Well, Yeah. I mean, there's definitely that big
Yes.
what's going to happen with this. But I will give some credit to Microsoft, because one of the big failings about the Kinect, and even more so with like the PlayStation Move in this generation, is that it's not necessary for anything. And now Microsoft is saying, if you want to develop for this, now you're forced to actually deal with the Kinect, and everyone's going to have one. So I think it's going to mean better things for the Kinect. You know, as we think of the Kinect now, it's sort of a glorified microphone, gimmicky, I don't have anything in my hands, Wii kind of setup. And I think it's because it's actually integrated with every console now, it's going to force developers and actually give them incentive to say, let's actually develop with this in mind. So that's what I'm excited about for the Kinect. Everything else, I'm really not happy that Microsoft can listen into whatever's going on in my living room. And I'm really glad that my girlfriend can now walk in when I'm playing Xbox and say, Xbox off, and I'm done.
All right. So when you think about how Microsoft's going to be treating the used games market from now on, and you look at retailers, just specifically like GameStop, who they're selling used games, they're absorbing all the profits, there's nothing really left over for the publishers or developers. It's not really clear what they're going to be doing to prevent this, but it's either going to be prevented or there's going to be some sort of incentive for publishers and developers here. So what do you think is going to, I mean, I think GameStop's stock has like plummeted since the announcement. So how is this going to affect used game market?
I think the used game market is one aspect of it, and you know, there's still a lot of uncertainty, and I don't think it would be fair to make comments yet, because I don't really think they've put out a consistent position on it.
They haven't yet. No.
But I think what is more concerning is that technology actually sort of really inhibits what the console is best at. Grabbing a game, going over to your friend's place, jamming that game in and playing that game. And it seems like this whole login, get a ticket, your game is coded, what is that actually going to do for that? I don't want to have to log in every time I go to Adam's house to play whatever game. You know, that doesn't make any sense to me. And if that's where the technology is going, that's going to be a big problem for not just hardcore gamers that like to complain about things, for regular people.
Yeah, I agree, and I would also agree that it hurts them more in just the console feel. I don't want to be the guy, the hipster who says, you know, I want to still be able to go to my friend's house and I want to, you know, sit down with pizza boxes with four of us and play, you know, 4-player GoldenEye. You know, even though totally still do that. You know, but I'm going to be that guy in this case because it does completely block you from being able to do that. It kind of changes the console experience, and I appreciate where they're trying to take or where they're trying to earn back some money that they feel like they're losing out on, but I feel like they could also be shooting themselves in the foot in just goodwill by doing something like this. It's almost like the piracy issue on the PC, where some people take it too far and it ends up hurting sales because they look at it and say, I don't want that on my computer. And I think they might have a similar effect with this.
All right, we've been a little bit cynical, just a little bit cynical.
Hey, I was happy. I was almost happy about the Halo thing. So there was a little bit of happy.
Okay, well, say something nice. Say something nice.
Say something nice? Okay. Just in general?
About the Xbox One, preferably.
Xbox One, preferably?
You thought you were going to get out of that one.
Oh, that would have been so much easier. No, there is some good stuff to come out of it. You know, I'm a big advocate for Xbox Live. I think that, you know, some people, or a lot of people, complain about the fact that you pay for it, but I think they've actually done a relatively good job of making it worth the money. And the biggest part of the announcement for me, and the one that I took the least negative, you know, away from, was the increase in the servers. I mean, they mentioned 300,000 servers was going to be the general number, and you know, and then they kind of got, you know, crazy with the more computing power than 1999 in all the world, and that's great. And
you can make anything sound spectacular by comparing it to technology in 1999.
You know, yeah, exactly. So with that being said. That didn't blow me away so much, but the possibilities of the cloud now is quite substantial. It can help offload with operating system stuff. It can help developers create new ways of tackling in-game issues and multiplayer, and it increases, for instance, the big thing for first-person shooters on consoles was, oh, well, you can only have like 8 versus 8 or 4 versus 4 or something like that. Now with 300 servers, there's no excuse. I want World War III where there's 500,000 people just killing each other mercilessly with Call of Duty dogs, if possible, would be great.
Mike, how about you? Say something nice.
You know what? The one thing that I was kind of happy to see is it looks like they're going to start building a more service approach to live. One of the things that I loved, well, I guess two of the things, watching Netflix with friends was actually a really cool idea, where you could sort of like watch with your buddy and, you know, make jokes about the movie or whatever you're watching. And 1 versus 100, I think, was an experiment that never should have went away. That was one thing that Microsoft really nailed. It was so much fun to play that, and I hope that they're sort of inspired with all of this new processing power they have to actually come and give some of that content back. That's really where they're going to build a more engaged user base for it. And you know, if you're going to engage people like that, a lot of these other issues about it, they'll go to the wayside when they see cool things. So I think that's one of their big ups, especially when comparing to Sony's PlayStation Network, which, to be quite frank, is lacking.
So yes or no, real quick, are you likely to buy an Xbox One?
I'm more likely to buy a PlayStation, knowing what I know today. E3 is going to be the big decider, obviously, but if you said make your decision today, it would have been a PlayStation 4.
Adam, what about you?
I would agree. Based on the information I have today, it would be hard for me to say, yeah, I could really go for an Xbox One. And you know, there's so much stuff that we didn't get to cover today that could have made this look even worse, really. Yeah. But we don't need to do that. Microsoft seems to do a pretty good job of perpetuating that.
They're going to kill that Call of Duty dog.
Oh, man.
Because they're sick. They're going to kill him, I guarantee you.
And then the next game will have 2 dogs and 3 until we have a field of dogs. But I'm in the same boat. I'm waiting for E3. Yeah. I think a lot of questions that need to be answered should be answered at E3, if not before, because they've really done a bad job with the PR for this thing so far. So I can't say for sure yet. Odds are yes, because at the end of the day, I'm going to buy what my friends are going to buy, and my friends are probably going to buy an Xbox because Xbox Live still sells that console.
It's still a video game. We're going to buy it.
Exactly. And you know, my job almost requires me to have both anyway, so my bank account will hate me, but hopefully Microsoft gleans some interesting information out of my living room for it.
All right, that's going to do it for us. If you want to give us your thoughts on the announcement, you can hit us up on Facebook.com/GameCodeTV or on Twitter @GameCodeTV. Coming up, Ian and Blake give us the foundations of MOBA gameplay as well as a surprise. Stay tuned.